Check out these nuts. Hey, this is Justin Hitt with Prosperity Homestead. What's the number one thing you're going to do with your property after you purchase it? Is it going to be mulch trails to increase your access? Is it going to be observation of soil erosion and how the water moves across the land? Will it be putting animals on it to start clearing the land if you have a forested or lightly forested land? Will it be timbering the property? No, the first thing you're going to do is get working with these nuts. You're going to go around and find all the seeds of the different types of plants that are on your property. There's quite a bit of nuts that were down in here. You're going to start doing a tree inventory. So what kind of is, I think this is a shagbark hickory, I think. I have no idea sometimes. But what I can do is go around and pick up the nuts. These are acorns, so there's an oak tree nearby. Pick up as many of these as possible. Start mapping them out on your property. Okay, and this is why I thought this was a shag hickory, because there are some hickories that are smashed here. But basically, you're going to collect as much seed as possible. Now, after you put these trails in, or for access, you're going to start digging up small plants. See all these little small plants that came up through here? Some of these are oaks, white oaks. There's a couple other things in here. Start digging up these small plants and start a tree nursery. So I'm looking for, right now, access. But as I get access, I'm looking for little pockets where I can get the right amount of sun to start a tree nursery. I want to start growing trees. I'm going to remove a lot of trees. I'm going to make room for trees. I'm going to have trees that might come out select cut and get milled. I'm going to have areas that are little openings like this where there's nothing really going to get in the way. And I'm going to collect as many nuts as possible. Now for this particular property, we got, of course, these oaks. And it's going to be 20, 30 years before these oaks are anything worthwhile. But I'm also collecting, these are locusts. Okay, so I'm collecting different fast-growing trees. I'm collecting anything I can find. I think there's even, there you go, these types of things. So again, I'm going to grow thousands of nitrogen-fixing trees, hundreds of timber trees, and as I'm removing trees from the property or thinning out the wood space, I want to mirror the habitat that's here. I'm going to take the habitat that's here, I'm going to set up the tree nurseries, and then I'm going to start selectively planting things out in the woods. I'm going to start with my nitrogen-fixing black locusts as perimeter plants because they'll grow very quick. I can put them on the border. They're very thorny. I might use them in erosion management spaces or my paper birches and my willows in water and erosion spaces. I might find some clearings as we move towards silvopasture where I might plant oaks downslope from my access points to allow those oaks to get as big as possible, and in 15 or 20 years use the access point to go in there and cut down those oaks and drag them out. I might find trees that are favorable like this, dig up many of the small trees around it, pot those up, and then take them out on the property someplace else and put them in the ground so that we can again spread out the diversity that's here. There's places where there's dead trees. One of the things about paths, I see some dead trees in here, is that we're going to go in with a chainsaw and cut out the dead trees, cut them into firewood. We'll either use them for cooking while we're out here camping, or we can sell off the firewood, or we can use the firewood for various reasons, turn it into charcoal if it's small stuff. I'm looking for areas where my access points are tight, and so if I'm going to remove trees, I want to make sure that I can at least replace those trees someplace else on the property. And you'll notice here we have areas where there's nice ground, it's gravel, because there used to be a kind of a road in here. And again, there's more nuts. I'm going to pick these nuts up. But we're looking for what trees grew to maturity. So you can see right there, there's a pine that grew to maturity. Okay, and there's some oaks that are nearby it. They're in real good condition. And so oak and pine. This is just a mid-Atlantic forest. You can see where there's a tree that was cut previously, harvested, and the tree next to it is full size. So we got trees that coppice. So that might be a management technique. We've got thick underbrush which is something to be aware of. And so we want to be able to look at what kinds of plants are in the underbrush. What kind of areas have less underbrush because they have good overstory. And then things like this, we're going to keep track of where this is. This is dry wood that's standing. And if I come out here to camp, I can cut that dry wood off and use it in a fire. And then I'm not cutting down existing trees. Again, I'm harvesting the waste of the forest. And this is interesting. You can see a big stump used to be here, and this tree grew out. Probably in 5 years, that tree will get cut out, and I'll just let the stump regrow itself. Because we're not really interested in excavating the ground here. I'm just looking to see what else we got here. So, but basically, seeds, inventory of plants, starting up nurseries in the woods, just in the middle of nowhere. A nursery with maybe raised beds that have nuts and stuff in them near their original habitat, just to get small trees to start. Small trees like this that are dug, that are from seed. See this one right here, that are dug up and put in pots. Probably not going to do too much of that because I am finding a good seed bank here. But again, we are cultivating the existing plants before we're worried about buying in new plants. We're repeating what's successful in the habitat. Like right here, we got, you know, why cut down trees for firewood when I got deadfall? Like right here, I can cut this deadfall up. I can cut this other dead tree out, gather up all the acorns, and that's actually a hickory nut. Gather up all the nuts that I can find around here, sprout them into small trees, and then for every set of dead trees that I cut out of here, which you got to be careful cutting down dead trees with a chainsaw, but for every set of dead trees I cut out of here, for every tree I take off the path to get a little bit wider for access, for every tree that was damaged that I take down and use for building materials, I have 10, 15, 20, 30 replacement trees. So I can come back in, set up nursery space, set up growing areas, and just constantly recycle this. How many years do you think, how many generations do you think can that type of system work? Think about it, folks. I'm essentially picking up the seeds and the nuts and the fruits of the forest and moving them around for the trees. We already know the trees are acclimated for this area. How long do you think that can happen? Well, for generations. And I'm going to teach you these methods. I'm going to show you these methods. You can even come out and be a good steward, and we'll show you how this works. We'll show you how we build the tree nursery areas. And we're going to do a lot of this even before we have secure space. Because, you know, we're going to have minimal inputs. A lot of this deadfall in the woods. Actually, there's a tree there it's probably dead standing. I'm girding some trees that are on the trail to do some building, but some of this dead standing stuff's going to get cut down for buildings. You can see how I'm girding this one because I want to be able to get the truck through here easier. Anyway, these nuts are everywhere. You want to pick these nuts up. You want to be getting familiar with the property, and you want to be replicating what works. That's the key. That's the takeaway. Replicate what works. Don't reinvent. You want to go through here and you want to spawn the mushrooms that spawn well. You want to reseed what grows well. You want to set up beds in the natural environment to get plants started. You want to transplant plants to the areas that are going to be greatest value. You want to have accessibility around the property so that you can get in and out with materials and the different harvests that are going to be available. And you're going to layer these harvests in the forest so that you have greater abundance, more carbon captured, a greater value per acre, because you're going to have multiple crops layered on top of each other, and then overall a better security and sound thing that you could essentially do this forever. If you take the trees and you thin the woods and you replant the trees and you manage, you know, contoured paths, growing strips, forest agriculture, you can do it forever. That's how we get to green. That's how we get to sustainability. And then again, imagine this out your own backyard. That's what Prosperity Homestead is all about. I want to thank you for joining me and checking in. Again, we're going to be picking up nuts. I also pick up a lot of trash in the woods too. But bags and bags of these nuts, I get them planted, I get them turned into trees. I might use the trees here. I might use them on a different property that I'm working with. They're all native to the space. So we're not introducing any species right now. And they're all getting shifted to their very best use. So we can get a lot of value out of a small amount of space. It doesn't matter where you started as long as you get going right now. I'm Justin Hitt with Prosperity Homestead. Thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you for being a part of what we're trying to do here. This is an educational channel. So if you have any questions, contact us. If you want individual coaching or consulting for your property, contact me with the address. We can do a lot of stuff without visiting the job site. Man, I should have brought the can of paint so I could mark some of the standing deadfall, because there's got to be a lot of firewood just feet off this trail. And of course, as we get more of these nuts and more of these seeds, and I just see abundance. And I think you can too. Blueberries, look at that. And I think you can too. It doesn't matter if you have 5 acres or 500 acres. You can increase property value. You can increase usability and utility of that property, and overall the abundance that you have for you and your family. Again, I'm Justin Hitt with Prosperity Homestead. Visit us at www.prosperityhomestead.org, where we answer your questions. We have a newsletter. We have a membership program. We have a lot of resources. I do custom videos for people if you have questions. Oh my gosh, you can't go 10 feet without there being a nut somewhere. This is what it's about, man. This is what it's about. Thanks for watching.